Jeff Zients and Jake Sullivan announced the president's strategy for global vaccine sharing and their allocation plan for the first 25 million doses to be shared globally. So just a couple of highlights from that. First, having successfully secured enough vaccine supply for Americans, we're donating surplus U.S. vaccine supply and encouraging other countries with surplus supplies to do the same. The president has announced a U.S. commitment to sharing a total of 80 million doses by the end of June. So that's 25 million doses that will go out as soon as possible, very quickly. A number of those are going to even go out as soon as today. And that is 5 times the number of doses any other country has committed to sharing, and 13% of the total vaccines produced by the United States by the end of this month. Second, we're working with vaccine manufacturers to vastly increase vaccine supply for the rest of the world in a way that can also create jobs here at home. So we have all these manufacturers who have facilities that will enable us to continue to produce additional supply even beyond, so that we can provide that to the rest of the world. We will also work with our partner nations and pharmaceutical companies and other manufacturers to create the kind of global vaccine production and manufacturing capacity and capabilities that can not only help the world beat this pandemic, but also helps prepare the world to respond to future threats. A couple of additional highlights. One, in our approach today, was rooted in a couple of considerations. One, ensuring vaccines are delivered in a way that is efficient and equitable and follows the latest science and public health data. 2, providing vaccines for populations across different regions and those most at risk, as well as nations experiencing surges, high burdens of disease, or low vaccination rates. And finally, as the president said, we will not use our vaccine supply and the doses we're sharing with the world to secure favors from other countries, and that's a value from the United States. So today we announced that we're sharing at least 75% of these vaccines, which is approximately 19 million, through COVAX, of the 25 million, I should say, that are going out, through COVAX, which will facilitate equitable distribution to reach those most at risk. So approximately 6 million for Latin America and the Caribbean, 7 million for South and Southeast Asia, 5 million with the African Union and Africa CDC. And we're sharing 25% of these vaccines with countries with immediate needs and to help with surges around the world. As final determinations are made about additional supply and where it's going, we will provide that to all of you, but wanted to convey how we'd be approaching this and where the initial set of supply is going.
Hey, I'm Sean Morrow, host of the NowThis podcast, Who Is? You might remember me from those annoying ads you were subjected to at the end of videos for like 2 years.
Who are the people that run the world?
Things have changed a bit since I last saw you. You know, pandemic, insurrection, Emily in Paris getting nominated for a Golden Globe. But I'm still trying to figure out, who are the people who run the world? On Who Is, the podcast, we examine power through the stories of the people who haven't. From mercenary forces, to the big businesses controlling your food, to a hedge fund manager who basically holds countries for ransom. To tell these stories, we bring in cool guests, from people you've heard of, like Stacey Abrams, to people you haven't, like law professors digging into police union contracts, and reporters following the money that flows from the donor class to the politicians who supposedly represent all of us. 2 seasons, that's 32 episodes, are ready for you to binge. And we're back for season 3, where we'll look at the giant corporations that might ruin weed for everyone, the organizations who ensure police aren't held accountable for misconduct, and the wealthy interests who are fighting to keep America sick and unhealthy so they can, make money off of it. Look for Who Is, the podcast, on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's Who Is, the podcast.